It was on a drizzly evening that the tale starts, with a boy scribbling something on the pavement and reciting an incantation, calling out for some supreme power to hear him out. He requests to have fame, money, and limitless power as well as immense wealth, so that he can recover his mother from a serious ailment and repay debts so that both of them may lead a happy life. On the phone, there were messages pouring in, telling him that his request for a loan had been rejected, as well as debt collections. He throws his arms up to the heavens, and he makes this crazy face, selling his soul and his flesh, even becoming a servant. There is something nearing in his eyes, and the very next second, a lightning bolt hits exactly where he was standing. Then he stays unconscious until he opens his eyes at last and attempts to stand up, thinking that his head is about to burst and only recalling that he was at the office working on a project. Glancing sideways, he notices an enormous pool of water reflecting his own face, and then he gets frightened and asks himself why his face had so drastically changed. But his surprises were not yet done, because in front of him was a gigantic tree, and he did not know where the hell he was. A voice suddenly resonates in his head, congratulating him. Then a book materializes, saying that it was successfully conjured and thus will grant 3 wishes, so he can demand anything. MC is shocked, as he is witnessing a talking book, and something like this did not exist on planet Earth, and he wonders if by any chance he transmigrated. He starts scrutinizing the book from front to back, as apparently he acquired some wishes, though he considered 3 wishes to be too low. Due to this, he comes up with the clever idea that his first wish is for it to be able to grant 10 more wishes, as he always wanted to experiment with something like that. The book opens an ugly mouth and starts to change into something strange, saying it even though there was an issue with the contract. Chen is terrified, looking up, because the book just turned into this huge demon that just uttered that the human was a new soul. The MC is still lying on the ground, terrified, as he has no idea what it means with the mention of soul or contract, and inquires what the heck that monster is. The demon is clear that a mortal is not worthy to know of his being, and the only thing that he needs to understand is that the original owner of that body used his own soul to summon him. And since the soul was destroyed, another entity took over the body that was supposed to be his, making it clear that this makes him property. The MC is petrified listening to all this, as all indications are that he actually transmigrated into another body in another world and was offered as a sacrifice. He chooses to begin running, and get out as fast as possible, but the demon merely snaps his fingers, and Shen's body starts burning for no apparent reason. The demon elucidates that when the agreement is prepared and broken, he will be subjected to brutal torture as retribution. He even addresses him as a pitiful human for being feeble and cautions that dying in the end is better. Still being alive, the MC declares that based on the contract law, in the event of breach due to more forces, Party B is not liable. And if he himself was disturbed by the demon and could not fulfill the contract, then the fault is of the superior one, and thus he cannot murder him for the violation of the contract. The demon turns and queries if actually a mortal is attempting to establish rules, and he responds that he knows the monster standing before him is a strong being and that it could even have destroyed him at the time itself, and yet did not. So he concludes that this is all just a test to determine whether or not he is an adequate candidate, and with his assertive look, queries whether possibly he was qualified to have the contract executed. The demon is quiet for a moment and then erupts into laughter, being very interested in what is happening, as he is watching the first human to negotiate with him, and admits that he has awakened a certain interest. Due to that, he calls the contract before the MC and tells that he made a decision: if a human can grant him a wish, he himself will give a new life. And with his scary face, he tells that he wants him to grant over 999 wishes, and informs that there is not much time to think. Chen is infuriated upon hearing this, as the demon openly plagiarized his desire. He becomes enraged, as there isn't much to do, and responds that he will serve his new master. Thus, the contract of the soul is sealed, whereby the contractor provides his soul and must complete 999 terms from the contract issuer, and after which is completed, the issuer can reward with proper rewards. Then the MC departs and ends up in front of his house, though not being certain if it actually is his house, as his new boss had left him there without explanation. He recalls when he was thrown out of the portal, while the book instructed him to do whatever he pleased and that it would come back soon to impose some order. He thinks about this, because he thought he was going to be treated like a slave, and that is not what happened. And because he does not know precisely what to do, he just decides to keep living. He opens the door of the home and, entering, inquires whether there is no person in the home, and also observes that the situation of the family is worse than he thought. He grabs a sheet of paper that was on the table and is appalled to realize that it is a contract for the loan of 2 liters of blood, having no idea of what kind of satanic mess the owner of that body must have been in. Just then, a person comes out of nowhere, knocking him with an iron bar, sending him way to the opposite end of the room. The guy inquires if, by any chance, he was dead, as he dared to not answer his calls. One of his henchmen warns him not to kill him, but the other says that it is okay, as the MC is a thief and his body is immune. Chen gets angry, saying who the hell they are, but he's hit again right to the stomach, with the blonde man wondering if he didn't remember the debt he incurred 7 days prior and if, by any chance, he is under the influence of something. He starts releasing numerous kicks along with calling the MC's mother an idiotic old woman, as she will give her own life to settle down a useless person's debt, and inquires whether both of them would always be trash. He continues defending himself by being compelled to hear that he is a useless thief, similar to his mother, and that they are not good enough to live. At this point, he recalls when he was still young and his mother was asking him if he would want to quit being a thief. He replies that no, because he does not want his mother to have to work so hard, and also tells her that he had a nightmare and dreamed about her having to produce handicrafts every day until, one day, she slept and never woke up again. She is taken aback hearing this and, smiling, puts out her hand to his head and tells him not to worry, because all will be well. And her face comes before him, attempting to console him, because all she had ever wanted was for him to have more belief in himself. These flashbacks make him incensed, and, regarding the blonde standing before him, he delivers a punch directly into his mouth that propels him with full force to the opposite end of the room. The henchman, not looking at what is taking place, jumps at the sight of something whizzing past his side like a bullet. They turn around and see Pietro totally crushed against the wall. The two turn back and tell him that something is amiss, and, upon noticing the MC, inquire if, by any chance, that aura indicates he turned into a star level. He, with his scary face, asks what is wrong with someone from a low class wanting to socially and economically rise, ordering everyone to shut up because he is not in the mood. Jungkook is annoyed, because as far as he can see, the MC is only at stage 2 of Class E, and even that he is acting arrogant. Due to this, the two start walking slowly, vowing to give him a good lesson so that he knows once and for all. MC starts to sense the power that is coursing through his veins and thinks that the oracle in Class 2 of Class E, about which he overheard the bullies gossiping, might be something regarding the power within him, thinking that it is likely to be higher than him. Abruptly, Jungkook comes in attacking, but Chin observes that he is able to see the movements in full and thus easily jumps out of the way, hitting the ground instead. In the following second, he suddenly pops up behind him and delivers a kick directly to the head of the big guy such that human ketchup erupts everywhere. James comes forward, frightened, as far as he knew, the MC was Class E Stage 2, and does not know how he can be that fast and powerful. But he is confident for being in a blind position, and perhaps he can even crack his ribs. This idea is worthless, as Chen, with his back turned to him, lifts his leg and makes a direct kick to his stomach that results in him vomiting without realizing how he knew where he was without even glancing over, and for that, he is thrown to the opposite side of the room. He begins pleading for his life, as he has no clue why the MC became that powerful, and says he was just obeying orders, as the man in charge of everything was Lin Yu. Chen challenges that name and lets it be known that he will pay the debt, which is why he wishes them not to harass him. Jamie immediately grabs his teammates and exits the house. The MC remains quiet for a moment and asks whether, by any luck, his boss was observing. The demonic book then seems to materialize through a portal, admitting he is shocked that he was able to pick up on his presence. The MC reminds him that he noticed an unusual power and thus assumed that he had been receiving minimal assistance. His superior responds that it was just that, as if he hadn't loaned a bit of power, he would have most likely perished. He is agitated, as increasingly he regards the book as his golden finger, for if it had the ability to loan power at all times, he would not have to be afraid of anyone. The malevolent god questions whether he is dreaming, as might does not lie in the hands of a mere human being to wield, and he himself got lucky that time for having not exceeded the limit, otherwise, the bullying gang would have killed themselves without his even laying a hand on them. The MC asks if working for a god is useless, as if he increased in power, it would be simpler to carry out the desires asked of him. The book reassures him not to worry, as according to the agreement it will reward him with something useful, but is not yet sure what it will be, and already cautions that it will not lend its own power again unless he wishes to die. Chen becomes angry hearing this. The demon god fantasizes that, indeed, his contractor surpassed his expectations, because not only did he seize his power but also commanded it too effectively, and wonders if by chance the MC is his point of destiny. Chen, out of curiosity, asks him what will be the second wish he has to make. The noble becomes perplexed with the question, and the MC inquires whether he is not going to wish for more than 900 desires. The evil god makes it clear that he has not imagined any and even requests him to calm down, as he wished so many times, and when the time arrives, the boy will comprehend. Chen does not get anything and inquires what he is supposed to do, and his boss simply instructs him to do whatever he feels like. He feels anxious, as he does not get anything about that world and was hoping that he would get some order, and from the order he would figure out where to go, but apparently it does not work like this. So he grabs his cell phone, which he had retrieved from the roof, and makes up his mind that he will know more about the previous owner of the body so that he can live like him. After a while of looking through the phone, he decides that the time is spent reading messages regarding debts and online shopping of supplements, and understands that being an oracle is costly, and that even one message from the family is not there. He hardly utters this and goes into shock, as there was a call from his sister informing him that their mother had fainted and was at the hospital, and thus wished for him to quickly come and meet with them. He runs to where he was supposed to go without even thinking twice, and when he opens the door, he sees his sister lying before his mother's bed. He is pensive, as the mood was tense, but he is aware that anyone would be upset for neglecting something so vital, particularly seeing his sister demoralized. He walks up and is aware that the individual on the stretcher is indeed his mother. Catching a glimpse of her makes him remember that she is not like in his recollections, and he is concerned whether it was all due to him. Then, to derail the mood, he calls his sister, excusing himself for being late and inquiring as to how their mother is doing. Yuqing automatically asks what excuse he will use this time, speculating if it will be training or if he was busy calling gods to do great things. She starts shivering and tells him that their mother spent efforts to pay off his debts, even fainting, and then, weeping, she shrieks, asking him why he never came to meet her even once, as their mother gave everything so that nothing would remain for him. She goes on, adding that their mother was not even able to visit the ICU since she had to settle his debts, and lived through willpower since she almost died, and that is why she wishes to know if he can comprehend this. Having vented, she breathes deeply and apologizes, as she herself and her mother are exhausted. Yuqing reveals a card that contains sufficient for 6 months of payment and warns him that, after that time, she herself will take charge of their mother, and that in addition, he will be responsible for his own bills, as the two of them will no longer have anything to do with him. The MC starts sweating cold, and she finishes by mentioning that, from that point forward, the two of them no longer have any connection with him. With that, he exits the hospital, and the evil god remarks that he can sense his pain and inquires whether, by any possibility, the words of a man managed to move him so, since theoretically the girl should be foreign to him, since he is a reincarnated from another world, and adds that, ultimately, it is not really his fault. Chen is taken aback, as he never thought the book would be the kind to comfort others, and clarifies that he is alright, as the girl merely reminded him of the past. The book concurs, as it doesn't want to witness any untidiness holding up its desire. The MC puffs himself up with confidence and asks if he will get stronger if he proves his worth, as then he would be able to compensate for all that occurred. The evil god is fascinated by this and responds that yes, he would become stronger if he proves his worth, and, having seen the MC walking, believes that he does not wish to see the boy fail him. In the meantime, at the Suiwa nightclub in the City of Light, Lin Yu is with two girls and says the profit for the month was not bad, and commands them to call the other goons to hasten the process of recovery, as the top echelon cannot afford to wait that long. His employee responds that it is no issue and explains that, from what they investigated, an individual from the organization in Zone A had difficulty collecting rent, and 3 of them were beaten by a student. He chuckles at this and adds that there is time for the harvest yet, confirming that it is due to arrogant individuals that fewer funds are being loaned than previously. The employee declares that he will punish them, but clarifies that it is a peculiar case, as among the individuals there are oracles of apprentices of level 3 and 2, and as far as it seems, the thugs got hurt by students who had just achieved level 2. Lin Yu is quiet, hearing this, and requests the report because he would like to know who it is. When he sees the picture of the MC, he is confused, wondering how a level low brat could beat a level 2 and a level 3 simultaneously, as even one of the lowest level 3s can fight against 10 people of level 2, and level gap is not something that could be made up with skills alone. He smiles, thinking that maybe Chin is concealing the strength he has, as he is most likely a level 3, then issues close monitoring and not to let a talent such as his slip away. The next morning, the MC seems to be running, until this is noticed by an old man, who wonders why he has been showing up early in the past few days, as the restock of normal stellar energy supplements just came in and the price is 400 per bottle. Chin comes up to him and says hello and apologizes, as he will not need it because he already has some. The guy tells him it's not a problem and if, by chance, he got a girlfriend because he is so excited in the early morning. The MC goes back to his jog and thinks that once he left the hospital, he took a couple of days acclimatizing to that body and also did some research on information, along with some memories he planted into that body, and with it, essentially learned all the general knowledge of that world. He knows that individuals in that world regularly take special supplements to have power, and such persons are referred to as oracles. The medications taken to become an oracle are costly, and that is why the previous owner of that body accumulated so much debt. He pictures that he doesn't necessarily know exactly what the ceiling is, but even lowest-ranked oracles possess physical characteristics far superior to those of regular humans. He understands how much more powerful his physique became when he took the supplement, and it makes sense why people would all want to be oracles. Abruptly, his phone begins ringing, and after he answers, he finds it is the monitor of the class, criticizing him, asking if he is awake, and additionally warning that the leave he took has expired and the teacher requested that she remind him to go back to class. He tells him he did not forget, as he was awake, but deep down, he knows that he forgot. Due to this, he attends school, and the teacher tells them that they already discussed the history of oracles, so she wishes to discuss the effect on the economy. Chen continues to pay attention and fantasizes that the position of an oracle is based on strength and divided by rank. The lowest rank is rank E and the highest is rank S, and one has to first achieve the highest rank of the current rank in order to proceed to the next. It is said that individuals who achieve rank S are treated like gods. In compensation for the oracle's power, the world is divided into 5 ranks. The 5th level is where ordinary people of level E live, and it is called the peripheral layer. Levels above 4 are the inner layer, symbolizing power and strength, and one must be at least rank D to enter. He conceives that he is now at rank E, the lowest rank possible, and to acquire additional resources, he must proceed to the city's median sector, and thus must determine how to boost his strength as soon as possible. Then, suddenly, he is struck with a piece of chalk, and turning around, he sees 2 students teasing him. Jonas inquires if by any chance he is taunting them, pretending to be better just because he performed better in the written exam, and his friend decides that although both of them are level 1, his punch can knock him out alone. The MC believes trash surrounds everywhere. At that moment, the teacher declares they will have a test in physical education class and hence everybody has to change clothes to proceed to the yard. Already having gone out to the yard, Chen continues to warm up and wonders why students in the Oracle department have physical education classes for most of the day and even finds the approach fascinating. A student comes by at this point and calls him over, and the whole crowd begins yelling that there is going to be a fight again, because they can see the troublers looking for a fight with the MC, and even wonder if the two do not get bored with antagonizing him, because month after month it is always the same. James continues to taunt, asking if he had fun battling them in the class, and what's the use of doing well on the written test when on the battlefield it does not matter. He further says that for an oracle, strength and level are the key, and queries if, in terms of strength, the MC isn't simply trash at his level. Chen finds this amusing and wonders whether, by the same reasoning, he himself is not equally worthless. Upon hearing this, he becomes curious enough to get ready to punch someone, but when he does, his punch is easily blocked and the other still inquires whether he is done talking nonsense. Jamie becomes worried, as he cannot escape. The MC then inquires whether he can close the mouth of the trash, and he begins to shake everywhere, requesting him to wait. At this time, both of them sense a strong presence, and Chen starts sweating cold, as it is a strong sense of oppression. It was Professor Zizawa, seeking to know who authorized causing trouble in his class. He refers to the MC as a junkie and wants to know if he already is making trouble after getting back. Chen alters his attitude and answers that he is not, explaining that they were rehearsing a fight, and thus he lets go of the guy's arm. Zizawa tells him that was the first warning and makes it very clear that if he does anything again, he will be in trouble. Then he takes the whole class and directs them to listen attentively, as they have just 3 months left for the graduation exam, and the transfer tournament after graduation is even more crucial. He cautions that if they perform well in the exam, not only will the school gain glory, but they will also have the opportunity to go to a prestigious academy, and in order to guarantee good performance, he prepared beginner supplements of rank A. The students begin to take the test, and while one is already nearly deceased at 24 repetitions, another is more enthusiastic, getting up to 50. The MC looks from afar, wondering if that is the Oracle's test, as he believed it would be extraordinary. Someone at this point calls him over, asking if he is okay. It was the class rep, explaining that he had been absent a number of days and, not knowing, believed something had occurred. She then becomes embarrassed, apologizing for being inquisitive, but it struck her as odd that an incident like this occurred so near graduation and was wondering. He chuckles and tells her he is well, thanking her also for concern. Ludian then questions whether he will not purchase the teacher's supplement, and he says that he will not, as he has no money, and fantasizes that the supplements cost a lot. In that case, if he is the only one who is not purchasing, then it must be that he is the poorest in class. She begins talking that he will struggle if he doesn't purchase the supplement, but is cut off by the teacher summoning her. The girl bids farewell and goes to the bar to attempt passing the exam. Sejoa watches and comments that she purchased 2 bottles of supplement, and due to that, he approves her. Chen begins to notice that the teacher assists those who purchase the supplement, and hopes that his abilities will suffice, as he is poor. He hardly gives a thought to this and is summoned to take the test. The teacher sees that he did not purchase anything, and with a smile on his face, thinks no one can be so sure to pass without the supplement, and after failing him, will make an example out of him. The MC examines the iron bar and finds that it appears normal, but when he puts his hand on it, he is shocked, as he can feel his body becoming heavier, and the stronger he tries, the more difficult it becomes, attempting to realize if it is due to the crystal on the wrist protection. He also sees that there is a limit to the weight applied and that with the present force he can adjust. He then immediately begins doing the bar despite the weight going up from 20 kilos to 100. The other students who surround him are shocked to see this and inquire as to whether, perhaps, the MC just performed 100, because previously he couldn't even perform 30, and now he is nearly second in the ranking. He completes the exercise, and at the same time, a few students run around him, claiming that he was amazing, as with the grade that he achieved he could be transferred to the elite class, and they still inquire when he attained second in rank, and if by chance he took a lot of supplements. Meanwhile, the teacher is observing from a distance, asking himself whether Chen took steroids, because his physique got much better, but then thinks it is impossible, because it is something too costly for a person like him to purchase, and he cannot see how he made second rank within a few days. Apart from being concerned that if they find out he made it this far without supplements, he will never be able to sell anything again. He alters his face, as he does not want his sales to result in this manner, and because of that ensures he will teach a valuable lesson. Then, in the principal's room, he is on the phone, telling him that for his school, without support or sponsorship, it is too hard to produce someone of third rank, and because of that, he would like to attempt to arrive at some understanding but cannot. Due to this, he puts down the phone and gets frustrated, because the equipment of the elite class is expensive, and the school essentially has no means of supporting a person of second rank. He looks at the photo of his senior and wonders what he needs to do, because the academy will be bankrupted if it goes on like that. He glances to the side at this point, as the teacher called him to enter, and when he comes close, Zijua hands him the student's grades and informs him that the performance was superb and that he is sure the class will yield exceptional oracles. The principal, though, reads the grades and sees that there is nothing exceptional. Because there are no more than first-rank individuals, and individuals such as him could not be dispatched to the battlefield, until the teacher announces that among the contestants there is one exception who coincides with the purpose of the schedule and mentions Chen's name. Due to this, the MC is summoned by the principal, and the bad god asks him what he did, and he responds that he doesn't know, or at least he does not recall having done anything. He reaches the door and thinks that he has heard that the director's personality is rough, so getting summoned by him is something complex. When attempting to reach for the doorknob, an aura starts to surface from the door, and he becomes frightened, inquiring what it is. The book is also taken aback and states that it finally manifested, clarifying that it is the wish brought about by the particular circumstance it had stated yesterday, and from what it can perceive, something that desires to be close for staying still. The director calls for his attention, and he goes in at once, inquiring as to why he was summoned. The director puts his hand on the MC's file and tells him that he found his physique satisfactory, as it is nearly of the second rank, but tells him that the issue is the truancies, the insubordination towards teachers, and the brawls, as it reflects poorly on him as being hot-headed. But he admits that this doesn't matter, as he thinks that there is something more than anything for an oracle. He specifies that he means money, and due to that, warns Chen that he should quit once and for all. The MC is afraid, for as far as he knew the price of an oracle at the late level is very high, and the teacher also affirms it, not to mention that Chen's family is also suffering, and thus he believes it is wise to trim down the expenses. Not to mention that the school itself is suffering from a crisis and does not even know if it will continue to exist. He states that and envisions that having a good learner in the special class will not be exciting, as they have to apply the resources to those who actually possess potential, and even with a level 3 learner, the outcome is not guaranteed. It is for this reason that he avers that he will not be required to go the following day, and would like to hear what he has to say on it. He keeps quiet for a moment, thinking everything through, before something gets the attention of the wicked god, and he informs the MC that he has located the target and hence would like him to grab it. He wants to know if it is a joke, as he cannot even stand, and asks if the book cannot do it by itself. The evil god responds that of course if he was able to, he would have done it by now, but the contract says that he can only receive something that is entirely in the MC's possession, and so he needs to figure out how to have possession of the crystal. He doesn't like this one bit, as to pay his debt he will have to go into the central part of the city. But he knows that going into the city, in addition to having a rank D, also requests an oracle graduation certificate, and that is the sole high school in that city, so he cannot be expelled whatsoever. After considering it, he breathes deeply, because he must come up with a solution, and to the best of his knowledge, since the establishment of the elite academy no student has reached level 2, meaning that for the school, anyone above level 2 is highly precious. He summons his master, and since he is not yet rewarded for assisting in granting the wish, he inquires if he could choose for himself which one. The book pauses to think and says that most likely yes. Then boldly, the MC declares that the reward he desires is to borrow the power. The bad god tells him that his body won't handle it, and that he was only lucky last time and managed to survive, so he requests him to select another plan. But he tells him that he can't take the risk of being kicked out, and because if he does get expelled, he doesn't know how long it will be until the next opportunity to reach the central city. He requests him to trust him. The book sees all this trust and triggers the contract, unleashing its power, warning also that he will be on his own. The contract is shown, where the contractor gives the contracted a reward, which is to borrow the power at any given time, but warns that all the consequences are upon the contracted one. He accepts without hesitation. At that time, the principal asks him if there is anything else he would like to say, and he responds that he would like to be tested again, so that he could only then decide on his status. The man sighs and instructs him to clamp his hand, and when he does, he understands that he is at level 2, and that it is higher than it was reported, but still very far from enough, and thus feels that it is a shame. The MC closes his eyes, as he is aware that he has only one opportunity, and that he will exercise the maximum of the power he contained. Considering this, his body starts to overflow even more energy, leaving the principal bewildered, as before him stands a student brimming with marvelous power. The book is also taken aback, as it did not anticipate the explosive power of the MC to surpass even the power it had transmitted. Hui, meanwhile still in amazement, does not believe that the level just went up suddenly, and seeing Chen, decides that he is already leveled up to 4. And then he asks what the result is, and the principal, assuming that heaven never stands in anyone's way, yells, urging him to please play for the school in the regional exchange tournament. He is taken aback by this request and inquires if, by chance, they want to impress the Department of Education through getting a level 4 to compete in the tournament. To whom Wei responds affirmatively, that yes, as the biggest compliment one can receive within all Oracle schools to compete in the level 4 division, and further states that their school had been last place for years. Hence, they must deliver soon. He also reiterates that that's why they are focusing their resources on the most likely students, and even apologizes for having misjudged him. The MC tells him it is okay, because he does understand, and the director tells him he is glad he knows that, and that, as an apology, he will drop his tuition. As soon as he is placed in the elite class, he will receive weekly provisions. He also makes it clear that if he has any other requirements, he should raise them, as the school will try to accommodate him. Then he alters his tone, realizing that a brilliant student would be appreciated everywhere, and hence states that he earnestly hopes, in his heart, that he is in consideration to represent their school in the competition, and it is made clear that he is not being dramatic when he tells them that the future of the school could rest on his shoulders. The MC turns back and thinks that the tournament must be big for them to be providing all of this, and therefore he makes a try, mentioning that he would like to request the black crystal on the shelf. Hua turns and mentions that it is the black star crystal left behind by the previous director, and while it doesn't serve any useful purpose, it symbolizes the spirit of the school. But he is aware that if the school closes down, then that spirit would become worthless, so to give it away is to preserve the school, and he has no issue. Chen reassures him not to worry, as he will play his best in the exchange tournament. The director states that it is settled, but admits that he is curious a bit, as he does not know how one of his students amplified his power so much. He chuckles and says he trains secretly and possesses some kind of special training system, and thus requests to keep that level confidential. Hui finds it reasonable, and assumes that hiding levels is a technique cultivated by oracles to fool enemies during battle, and he never thought of someone so young possessing such strategic consciousness. Suddenly a female student enters the room at the request of the director, and he tells her to hurry and bring Chen to the elite class as he directed. She tells him it is okay, and they both go out, passing through the school. The teacher appears at this point, running and shouting at the MC that he attempted to beg the director to reconsider, as even with mediocre grades all people are entitled to learn. He also requests him to remain committed even after being left behind. The MC does not get all of this, just as the student, who explains that Chen was not abandoned but relocated to the special class. She also states that the director is searching for him and even appeared angry. Zijua considers this and understands that he messed himself up big time by attempting to play games with the MC. Then, already evening, Chen is lying on his bed, in relief, because he was able to upgrade from level 2 to level 4 within 3 months, and even affluent geniuses make a huge amount of money to upgrade only by 1 level. Therefore, he inquires from his master whether it is possible to level up alone at one time. Evil God responds that clearly not, and informs him that if he needs further assistance, he will first have to complete the wish, as it was the MC himself who set the reward. He assures him the borrowed power won't deceive people much longer. The MC explains he already knows, as he is not dumb enough to believe he can win the tournament on borrowed strength. On his cell phone, he explains he is calmer, as he evaded expulsion and got free supplies, and now that he will be able to level up, it will improve. He states this as he watches the bills coming in via email, and realizes that he must generate income to rectify this issue. The following day, he comes to school and begins searching for something unusual, as his new school is more like a deserted factory, and he has no idea about what is going on. All of a sudden, someone shouts his name, and he sees someone waving an arm. They go towards the advanced class, and the man introduces himself as Young, a teacher in the advanced class. The MC is shocked, as he had anticipated the teachers of that class to be tighter, and he states that there is no need for protocol, apart from questioning if there are other instructors. He replies that the advanced class has 3 academic instructors, but he himself is the sole one who does the combat training, as enrollment has been low in recent years and few qualified for the advanced class. So they did not take on more staff. Chen comes to understand that, as it turns out, the school is in a bad situation and better appreciates the urgency of why the director is so desperate. They get to the location, and the teacher assures them that he vows that the location will not let them down, and thus formally introduces the advanced class. He states that they provide free training and thus will introduce everyone in attendance. The MC is amazed, as the facilities here are nothing compared to the other room, as they appear more like a high-quality gym, and the students also appear to be motivated. Something, however, catches his eye, as the tension in the atmosphere of the place seems apparent. The teacher calls everyone together and announces Chen as the academy's new member, and even requests everyone to work hard to prepare for the exchange tournament. The MC just states that he is willing to study from all the students. A member, at this time, speaks out and says that he does not believe the MC's strength and even requests him to confess that he pulled some strings to get accepted, and that he for sure will bring down the advanced class. Zhang immediately cries out not to speak like that, because Chen got his place based on his own strength. When Hao, brimming with his power, requests to see it and asks to duel the MC officially, all the students are stunned, as they had never heard of an official challenge in centuries. Unlike regular training, official challenges mean both parties must engage with pride on the line and the loser must follow the winner without grumbling. Without knowing why the best student in the academy is bullying a new student in this fashion, a weightlifting student inquires what is going on, and a female student responds that supposedly there is a transferred newcomer who is going to fight Wen Hao. The teacher tells him not to worry, as a formal challenge will only be accepted if agreed on by both sides, but Chen takes the challenge without hesitation, and even states that if it is a friendly game without the use of deadly force, then there will be no issues. He states this thinking it is a good opportunity to gauge his strength prior to the tournament. Meanwhile, in the director's room, the teacher calls, announcing that Chen is already engaged in a battle with another student, and later details that, in effect, it was Wen Hao who made a formal challenge and Chen took it. Meanwhile, the whole class is urging Wen Hao to give the newcomer a lesson. The director considers this, speculating whether the MC might be doing some sort of test, as he is fairly sure he learned power concealment, and so commands the arena to be made ready as he sanctions the challenge. With matters arranged, the two stand facing each other, and the teacher advises that he will make the rules, as it is Chen's first experience. He explains that it will be the same format as the regional tournament, where only the two opponents can get into the arena, and anyone who tries to intervene will be kicked out at once, and both of them must be of the same star level. When Hao asks whether, by any luck, the MC is also an E-rank level 2, as from what he could see, that was what the cube was displaying. The instructor goes on with the explanation, clearly stating that he cannot use fatal force nor retaliation following the brawl, and that a clean facial hit or verbal submission will lead to the match's end. With all explained, he orders them to start, and off they go right away when Hao rushes in for the attack, attempting to grab the MC's neck, as he wants to end it right away. But it is ineffective, as he merely blocks the attack, because he was aware of his opponent's strategy to attack first. Then, the red-haired one continues to attempt other attacks but misses all of them. He attacks in greater anger, yet Chen continues to dodge very easily, and he gets more and more angry, choosing to attack with his kick this time. As the MC dodges at this point, he changes direction for his attack, striking his head, and in a full hit, surprisingly hits the MC on the arm. He glances to the side afterwards and putting his hand on the ground delivers a full kick to the neck that leaves the big guy flabbergasted, as he never thought his opponent could also do martial arts. He attempts to calm down, since as long as he does not get an attack to the face he will be okay, and thus still has hope. However, turning his back, he finds himself face to face with Chen's fist into his face. The MC withdraws his hand and warns that a clean strike to the face ensures victory. Wenhao can't believe what happened, and the teacher yells out that the winner of the duel was Chen. Wenhao is still grappling with the fact that he lost, as are all the other students, who are amazed that the best in the class lost to a newcomer. The MC supposes that the match finished quicker than he anticipated, and then inquires if, by any chance, there are any other complaints or whether they are all done. The teacher, still dazed from the happening, supposes that Wenhao received professional training and thus does not think he lost. Conversely, Chen never practiced any technique, yet his physical capability and reaction speed were remarkable at this point. Someone comes and says it was great. It was the director who, apart from complimenting the fight, requested the MC to chat for a minute, and both of them walked off while individuals continued to gawk at how powerful he is. Meanwhile, the blonde man could only wonder that he must hire Chun for his team at all costs. Meanwhile, the director asks if the MC is becoming accustomed to the upper class, and he says everything is okay, though he did notice that his classmates are somewhat too enthusiastic. Hu-wei agrees and tells him it is usual for them to be shocked when they see someone powerful, and thus requests that he concentrate on training, also urging him to ask for whatever he requires. The MC is shocked at how much the director ended up trusting him, and thus, ashamed, he requests to know if there is a way for the students to quickly make money. The director is amazed by this question, but requests that at his age he shouldn't care about money, as he should only train so that later he can earn a lot of money. Apart from the fact that he knows that his family is facing hardships, he indicates that the school can sponsor part of the expenses. But Chen just assumes that it is alright, as he inquired on a whim, and assumes that he will need to come up with another source of income. At the academy, he continues to think that student loans are harshly punished by the school, and thus it's best not to get caught, but he still has no idea where he can earn money. Someone approaches him at this time, drawing his attention. It was Jarui, telling him that he thought the fight was awesome because it even drew the director's attention. The MC, bewildered, asks who the hell he is. At this point Jeo-sia comes and apologizes, because her friend has always been strange like that. Then she says that from the registrations they are older than him, and thus requests him to please ask if he is confused. He does not know what to say and just thanks. Jarui says they are now 3 in number, and as leader he will ensure the MC as well. He does not understand, all this being odd to him, and the blonde man asks if by any chance he was shifted from a lower class and also where he was taught the combat skill that he employed during the fight. Shin admits he didn't know what he was referring to by combat technique, and Jarui can't even believe he doesn't even know what that is, and asked him what move he used to knock out Wenhao. He grins and just replies he struck on reflex. The two can't believe it, as it was a vicious punch, and even claim that if Wenhao finds out, he will be outraged. On the contrary, the girl decides to tell them that fighting techniques are strong attacks that high levels can only acquire with scrolls or memory stones, and depending on how they are, the effect is different. There are a lot of different types of techniques that suit each one's fighting style. Jarui exploits the subject and informs him that the movement Wenhao during the fight was a rank D combat move known as hook wind kick. The MC finds this surprising, as it actually was powerful enough that he could not block, and curious as to more, asks if combat moves are uncommon. The blonde male responds that they are pretty much graded, and the more powerful they get the scarcer they are. Secondly, the school offers the basic ones, but if you need powerful methods you will have to purchase them or find someone to share. He tells us that a standard rank D technique would cost about 500,000. He is amazed at the amount and has no clue how long it would take to acquire one. Jarui gets excited, as he has a technique he would like to share with the MC in a training session, just like Xiao Sia who also has one to share. Chen gets surprised, as both are behaving in such a manner that 500,000 is nothing for them, and so he feels that they must be wealthy. With this idea, a thought emerges in his mind, since if both belong to an affluent family then perhaps he could learn about ways to earn. Due to that he inquires if there is an easy method to earn money for a person who wishes to purchase a method but does not possess any. Jarui inquires if anything is valid, such as stealing a bank, but he tells him this is also not accepted. The blonde man starts thinking, attempting to picture an unlimited way of obtaining money fast, and determines that the miracle area known as Blackwater District is the only chance. At that point, someone comes along, hitting him on the head and telling him not to speak nonsense, as if a teacher overheard them they would receive a tremendous scolding. The MC is curious and wonders what the so-called miracle zone of the Blackwater District is. The blonde dude smirks and says he was kidding, since while he has heard that anything can go there, the school prohibits any student from getting near, and if caught they will be revealed without even a debate. He then inquires how much cash is required to learn the fighting technique he desires. The MC responds that approximately 300,000, and both of them become terrified because it is a huge sum of money. Immediately they both look at their balance but understand that they do not possess all the money. Chen, however, becomes contemplative regarding what he just learned, because desperate times call for desperate measures. And so he goes to investigate the district. Later in the night after school, on the Blackwater Road, MC drives using the address on his phone and understands the spot is not too distant from home, as it took nearly a minute or two by vehicle. He envisions that he altered his uniform in order to make it more difficult for anyone to identify him in case of being spotted, and then queries his master what he supposes is in that location. But he gets perplexed because the Wicked God's book didn't seem to provide any solution. He claims to know the outer regions do not have a lot of high-ranking envoys, and thus thinks he can manage it himself, even noticing that the location has obviously been abandoned for years. Suddenly, he gets some sounds and thinks there are indications of people walking around the area. When he looks through a window and sees a light within a doorway, he thinks there might be some fascinating hidden thing to find out. When he starts to go inside, some individuals reach the location and stand and look with evil faces. Once Chin goes downstairs, he is amazed, because the said miracle zone really lives up to its name, as it has the character of a hidden city. He sees the filthy streets and individuals conducting illegal transactions. Seeing all that, he thinks it's understandable why it is prohibited to speak about that absolutely lawless spot, as it is possible to earn money in any manner, and he thinks that he can receive the money even earlier than the deadline. And it is only after this that he shuts his eyes, and looking behind wonders how long he will be pursued. One man with his gang comes up and tells him that he was set to beat him when he got the opportunity, but since he was found out, he prefers to switch to something more deadly. The MC asks him why he wants to beat him up, and he responds that he well knows what a person Shin is, as he has already seen so many of his type hidden brats, and that he will earn tons of money in ransom. The MC thinks this is amusing, as he has no one to pay his ransom. The man comes nearer, and with light slaps on his face, announces that he is a mighty oracle, and hence requests him to be courteous and assist in the ransom. Chin denounces him as rude, and in the very moment slaps his head, flinging him with full strength on the ground. Watching this frightens the thug, who instantly pulls out their knives and advances for the assault. But two crates fly over and collide head-on with the mad couple, also leaving the MC bewildered at what occurred. Until someone appears before him and, taking his hand, says to follow her. The two of them run until they find themselves somewhere else. The MC is grateful to her for rescuing him, though he had intended to use the two men to inquire about some issues. She queries whether, by any chance, he is Chen. This inquiry leaves him astonished, to the extent of asking if she knows him. She feels embarrassed, as she had to maintain appearances, but then it strikes her as odd that he did not remember her, and thus responds that no, indicating to his collar, which is how she recognized him. Chen is astonished, as he had not realized that his name was on the collar, and thus thanks her. She is relieved, as she nearly lost her disguise, and then does not want him to reveal anything about the Blackwater district, as it is unsafe, and thus proposes to take him out. But he declines and thanks her, as he has some urgent business there. Moreover, he becomes gloomy, as if the girl reveals that a student was present there, he might land in trouble. As he was walking away, the girl begins fantasizing it's already years since she last met Chen and wonders if he forgot her or is faking. And in case he indeed is a student, she doesn't see what he does in this kind of risky location. She also felt something unusual when touching him, and wonders if, by some chance, he became an oracle somewhere else. The MC does his transactions, and after finishing them, he believes that he already has enough to sustain the necessities, but he is aware that he will have to find another means of earning more. Suddenly, a man approaches him and tells him that he is a tour guide, because he knows everything about the place, and thus he could ask him anything. The MC is surprised to learn that, and so inquires about where he could quickly earn money in that location. The man smiles and tells him to accompany him, as he knows a simple location for that. At the new place, there was a battle going on, and he inquires if by any chance it is an underground fighting club. The man says yes, and that it is the money center. He tells us that tonight there is a special battle, as the champion will be awarded the money prize, a share of the bets, and even the oracles seem to battle. The MC knows that, even if the fighter looks powerful, he is level 1. As he sees the price amount, he realizes that it's an ideal opportunity to collect money. The man inquires whether by any chance he would like to come in, as he could organize some chips. But he tells him to forget about chips, as he will claim the prize money. The fellow gets perplexed, as initially he thought that he would earn money by betting and not combat. Lin steps in at this time, as she noticed the MC go into the establishment, until she gets shocked. Looking forward, when she sees him within the ring and cannot comprehend what is taking place anymore, the fighter introduces himself and informs her that he is the strongest of them all. But before he even finishes talking, Chen punches him in the face and sends him to the opposite side of the ring. All he can think is that he must end as fast as possible and so requests the next one to arrive instantly. The man does it, but in the very next second, he is flying. This frightens the next fighter, but already too late, as he too gets sent flying with a mere punch by the MC. A businessman is scared by what he is witnessing, as they only permitted Chen to fight because he was looking weak and doesn't know what the hell is occurring. One of his henchmen goes to him at this point and informs him that all the fighters hired backed out of the matches, and even the clients believe that they are fixing the fights and thus desire refunds. He laments, as this is going to be troublesome, and hence gives instructions to release the special fighter. At the same time, inside the ring, the MC kills all who try to oppose him. Knowing that the man he killed was the last, he poses the question of whether, by any means, he could already be awarded the prize. Nevertheless, an announcement is made that there is still one final match to come, and that it is actually the most thrilling one of all. He is concerned about this, as it is an indication that the company never intended to pay him. The employees arrive at this time with the special fighter, and the MC becomes terrified as the next fighter to be announced is the aberration Niflun. After placing the monster, they let it off the restraints to the extent of it falling to the ground. The MC continues to observe without knowing what is going on, until a device on the back of Niflun's neck activates and he starts rising, displaying the ugly face he owns. A lady in the crowd remarks that it is frightening, and her husband tells her not to be afraid, as he is present to safeguard her. However, to himself, he is happy he is in the back row, as he nearly wet himself out of fear. Lin is also frightened and does not comprehend why a monster of that sort is present, clutching her phone firmly. She assumes that Chen would not be able to handle the level of that monster, and also knows she cannot save him, since that would reveal her position. She becomes increasingly frustrated. At the same time, the MC finds it frustrating that the wicked book does not show up at that moment, and realizes that Niflun is certainly not like his previous opponent. He stares straight at the monster and immediately knows how terrifying it is, as it resembles a hunter heading towards prey. In the same moment, Niflun shifts his finger and immediately strikes Chen's face, who barely jumps aside out of shock. He can't believe how quickly the attack was made, and if he didn't move out of instinct, he would have been killed by that strike. He turns and knows the monster is attempting to kill him, and thus charges, gripping both of his opponent's arms as he can no longer restrain himself. But the strength of the monster is such that it starts pulling him away, and this alarms him further, as he needs to end the battle at the earliest. He chooses to raise his level to 4, and simultaneously, his power starts overflowing through his body. Creating a hammer shape using both hands, he smashes the monster firmly against the ground, to the extent of harming the device. He continues observing and thinks about whether this foe perished, but in the same moment, Niflun counterattacks and grazes him with his blow. Chen retreats, because his strongest attack had little effect, because the monster's thick skin is too resistant. He continues to run, thinking he requires a weapon. At this point, Niflun attacks once more with the resistant skin he developed on his finger, and the MC seizes the time to shatter it in two. Then he carries the skin away to use as a weapon and delivers a straight hit into the monster's neck, breaking its jaw. This angers him, as the hit was superficial, even though it damaged. At this point, the monster starts to emit gas all over the arena, and Chen wonders if it is poisonous mist, but he knows it is only normal mist. Due to overthinking, he gets distracted, and a punch hits him straight in the belly. He attempts to retaliate, but apart from missing his mark, he receives another one on his back. He attempts to protect himself from the numerous hits he is receiving, imagining that he cannot see anything amidst the fog, and all he has to do is identify a weakness. He is aware that even if he manages to survive the attacks, eventually the borrowed energy will cease, and thus he must conclude the fight before that. He attempts to calm himself down, as he must view through the position of the enemy with all his senses. He reflects on this and attempts to concentrate as best he can. Through this, he starts to make out some forms moving in the fog, and this gives him confidence. Until yet another attack is hurled his way, and he is able to catch hold of the opponent's arm in time, and slice it off, causing the monster to shriek with agony. The MC doesn't delay and attacks, as he did find an opening, until he can feel his heart getting electrocuted, suggesting that he is nearing his limit. Due to this, Niflun is able to strike Chen's hand, which pushes the weapon away, and then strikes with his tongue, pushing it into his stomach. He does not quit and realizes that he needs to borrow more strength. Only after this does he reach for the monster's tongue and tug it with all his might towards himself. Next, he firmly clings onto its mouth with both hands and, with all his might, announces that it is not the end. Only after that does he start screaming and, without hesitation, rips the monster into two pieces with his gigantic strength. The businessman attempts to comprehend what occurred, but he can't due to the fog. When he finally gets to see the outcome, he appears horrified. The same applies to Lin, who doesn't comprehend how what she has witnessed was even possible, as directly in front of her, Chen is standing with the monster's two halves held firmly in each hand. After spilling them on the ground, he turns around with his wicked eyes, frightening all the security personnel. The businessman continues questioning how that was possible and, filled with rage, declares that he does not believe his top fighter, for whom he paid a high fee, was just slaughtered. The MC still stands in the arena, listening to the organizer calling him back to go backstage and congratulate the new champion. He wonders if it is finally over. Inside the arena backstage, the organizers reveal the cash prize and tell him that it amounted to 510,000. Chen extends his hand, but one of them slams the briefcase shut. Then he instructs him to wait, and the angry organizer, Pion, instructs him to become a contracted fighter, fighting under his contract. Only then will he get the 510,000, or otherwise, just take 110,000 to leave. Chen asks him what he is talking about. Shouting, Pion informs him that all of the contracted fighters have escaped and that the head fighter of the event, the one that Chen murdered, means he is obligated to pay compensation. He is explicit in saying that no other fights were referenced, and thus entering the ring signifies an automatic signing of a life and death contract. Murdering the opponent was merely a result. The businessman continues to be more and more intimidated, particularly noticing the evil presence Chen is radiating. For this reason, he pulls out his gun, demanding who the fuck Chen is to be making demands. But within the same moment, Chen walks up to him and crushes the gun with one hand, shattering his finger as well. Because of this, Pyong yells to everyone to shoot immediately. The henchmen aim their guns at Chen, who simply looks on. Meanwhile, in the crowd, everybody gets terrified when they hear shots, and suddenly one of the henchmen jumps through the window and lands on the floor, as people inquire whether it is a movie scene, because the jump was ridiculously high. Lin, on the other hand, sees what could be going on. While this is going on, the MC is running about beating people up. Despite the return fire from the henchmen, he merely dodges and punches them to the ground as hard as he can. He then attempts to make a getaway but sees the alleys are cordoned off and starts panicking, as his heart hurts from using so much borrowed energy. Things are made worse in that his wounds are aggravating, and he will not last much longer. Lin suddenly shows up, dragging him and covering his lips, as the security guards are looking around everywhere. Chen asks if she is the same girl from earlier, and she says save his energy and informs him that she has a secret way out to lead him out of there and directs him to head straight to the door before others come back. He removes his mask, totally tired out, thanks her for assistance, and takes off without delay. Her superior calls her at that time and inquires whether she is back in the district, and she tells him that she must speak to her grandfather, as she found a commonality. After having a lot of running, the MC eventually reaches his house and promptly falls onto his knees, as his heart is aching terribly. He even feels that he cannot bear it anymore. He struggles to hold on but faints unconscious. He begins dreaming. In his dream, his mother informs him that she will recover within 2 or 3 years. By the phone, she informs him that she would love to see him married and with children and grow old, but apologizes as she can no longer muster enough strength to walk the journey with him. She ends by telling him she loved him a lot before falling silent. At this point, he wakes up in tears and is confused regarding what occurred. Only then does he turn to the side and question if it is the house of the previous owner of the body, and finds out that he is actually alive. He exhales deeply in relief, as his dream had awakened him. Until a voice interrupts him, questioning if he is awake. It is the evil god, claiming that he was gone for some time, as he was attending to some business elsewhere. Since he realized that Chen was in poor condition for 2 consecutive days, he felt that he was not going to make it and thus requests an explanation. But before he can get a response, he begins yelling angrily, for he is sure that the MC employed his borrowed authority to slay some monster, despite having cautioned him against misusing the power. Chen simply listens in silence and informs him that he had no option, for he could have perished. The book inquires whether by chance he believes he can bring him back if he dies, and informs him plainly that the last time he brought him back, he expended most of his energy, thus, if that were to happen again, not even he himself will be able to save him, commanding him to appreciate more this second chance. The MC merely sits there in silence and says that he did not figure he would ever hear that from the evil god, even though he knows that he really should be making better use of the gift he was given. The book states he is thankful that he knew, and admits to feeling a little odd that the monster he encountered wanted to write, as it was not human and did not appear from that world. He answers that, anyway, he no longer wishes to go back to the arena, which now seems like hell, and begins thinking about the girl who assisted him in the district. Though he can't shift his attention, as he must know his level, Thinking about it, he recalls the money and, opening the briefcase, finds it to be in one piece, which takes the pressure off him since with the 510,000 he won't need to worry about debts until after the regional tournament and will be able to concentrate only on learning his level. He then informs us that he must treat the wound on his stomach before going back to school, as unlike small wounds these don't heal by themselves. However, he does sit down as he will be having hospital treatment and, as before, will have to spend money. After which he heads to the hospital, and once the treatment is completed the doctor tells him that the wound healed fully and inquires if by any chance he is an oracle, as the speed of healing wasn't usual. He tells him that indeed he is, and the doctor, smiling, says that oracles tend to get hurt and thus there is a promotion, as he will likely get hurt again. But he declines and thanks him for the regular medicine. He then finds himself relieved that the monster's tongue was not poisonous. At that point the doctor holds up a vial and asks him to drink it, but the MC finds it suspicious since it is glowing and thus inquires why it is shining so much. The physician responds that he does not notice any glow, since it is merely a standard anti-inflammatory for oracles. Shen finds this odd because he can obviously see the glow in the vial and questions whether he is the only one who can notice it. The physician again attempts to peddle his promotion, indicating that perhaps he is hallucinating from pressure, but once more declines and then observes that the vials throughout the room are all aglow, as are some individuals within the hospital. He finds everything about it odd and wonders if it is one of the side effects of being an oracle, and to his knowledge the only difference between normal people and oracles is the increased star energy. He is curious if this was brought on by the incident and is pleased, as if this is true it will be wonderful, as the balancing of an oracle is based on absorbing star energy, and if he can actually see it he will be able to absorb it in a better way. All of a sudden, he catches sight of a person walking and as they walk by his side he can feel a power on another level. He starts sweating cold, for the star energy he experienced was out of this world. This guy turns around and wonders if he were scanned by any chance, yet he does not know how that could happen because there is no one powerful in that room. At that point someone calls him using the communicator, inquiring if he's still in the hospital and reminding him as well not to forget the mission to locate the alien star. He requests them to relax, as he doesn't want to waste that trip and even intends to remain in the country for quite some time longer. And then he removes his glasses and, grinning, indicates that if the alien star is indeed a foe he will personally destroy it.